Kevin, one of the problems that many people have about the monotheistic Abrahamic God of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam is that it seems that some people will be lost or go to hell or whatever the particular perdition of each religion is. And that bothers people, bothers me in terms of understanding it. What's your view?
I think the first thing we need to get out on the table is how we answer that question is going to depend upon some other beliefs that we have, particularly sort of the positions we take about free will. So if it is possible for God to determine how we behave, how we freely behave, if compatibilism is true, then I think that God can get all the goods that he wants out of compatibilism, but still get out of our having free will, but still get all the exact particular cases of...
Because in compatibilism, our decisions and will can be absolutely determined, but because it originates in ourselves and don't have a gun to our head, it's still a kind of free will.
Yeah.
So if God can do that, he can...
I would presume if God can determine how we freely make choices, he would determine us to freely make good choices.
And then everybody would be saved for sure.
Yeah.
So if compatibilism is true, everybody's
I would expect
saved.
us for a version of universalism where everybody is saved to be
right,
true.
Universal salvation. Yeah. But you don't believe compatibilism
I don't believe
is true.
compatibilism.
All right.
Actually, I think that there's another version of incompatibilism that gets you the same result. So if you are an incompatibilist about free will and determinism, but you think that we lack free will, I would presume that you would also get universalism because nobody would freely do anything. So nobody would freely make any choices that would sort of necessitate or warrant being damned or sent to hell.
But in that you're assigning ultimate salvation based upon not doing a negative as opposed to doing a positive. There's a difference, right?
Yeah.
So how are people judged whether they're going to heaven or hell or whatever? By just not doing anything negative, or by they have to do something affirmative? In which case you need the free will.
I take some kind of sin as necessary to deserve damnation or deserve any kind of punishment, much less eternal punishment.
So if you do nothing, you're okay. If you just kind of look at the wall for your whole life.
If there is a creature that has done nothing sinful and they are judged, I will trust in God's goodness to not punish them, much less punish them eternally for not having done anything wrong.
Okay. And that entity is preferable to somebody who's done lots of things wrong, but have done a lot of other things right.
I don't know what you mean by preferable there.
Well, I mean, because the people who may sin but have done a lot of other things right, that person has more a rich kind of characteristic than somebody who just didn't do anything.
Yeah, I think morally speaking, it is better for an agent to have neither done good nor bad than to have done a mixture of both.
Okay, I could maybe argue that.
Okay.
But what we want to focus on is it true that there will be entities that God created through God's creation that ultimately will not survive?
So if incompatibilism is true, and we do in fact have free will, then I don't think God can guarantee that everybody that he creates will in fact be saved. So at the very least, you have to be open to the possibility that there will be people in hell on this sort of view, because God values free will for whatever reasons that he has for valuing free will. He gives us free will. He then can't determine or control how we use it. So some of us, as a matter of fact, might use it in ways that then are contrary to his will.
So let's take the worst person you can think about, and the longest period of time that person can be doing evil things. What would that be? 80 years, 90 years? What's the maximum amount of time that somebody can really do evil things? Give me 100 years. Really evil, continuously for 100 years. You think it's fair to put somebody in eternal damnation, whatever the damnation is, eternal for a finite period of time, any finite period of time compared to infinity? That seems ludicrous.
Sure, but I don't think that we're committed to that. So if there is somebody in hell, I don't think that the reason why they deserve to be in hell is merely the finite time that they spend on this earth. So if it's the case that somebody who is in hell retains their freedom and continues to misuse it in the way that they can't be reconciled with God, then they will stay in the sense of, right, in the state of separation from God. And so I don't think that we ought to think about eternal punishment as being deserved by this particular sin, or even 100 years of particular sins.
Okay, so therefore you're committed to the idea that there is some post-death movement potentially. You have to be committed to that idea then.
Yeah, I think that people in the afterlife, either in heaven or in hell, will continue to be making free choices.
And that it is possible, conceptually, that at least on the hell side, they can make choices for the positive. If not on the heaven side, that they can make choices for the negative. So is there an asymmetry between them?
I actually think that there's a symmetry probably between both of them. So I think that
so then you're back in the same boat. The people are, everybody in hell is there on an infinite basis. If you say there's a symmetry because you believe that everybody in heaven can't sin anymore, so then you believe that everybody in hell can't ever get back to a position of being with God.
Yeah, but I don't think that the reason why they can't do that is that God's just done with them and sort of, right, wants nothing more to do with them.
But then it still gets back to that finite period of time where they went through this. It would be very strange if this was 100% sure. I mean, if it was 73% or 22% or 16.5%, maybe, but not 100%, unless you're building something in there that really gives eternal power to this period of very short human life.
So if you have somebody who's in hell and they, as a matter of fact, continue to reject God in whatever sense is relevant here, then I think that person can stay in hell for all eternity and not be deserving of it.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But you're telling me there's a symmetry between the people in heaven who you say can sin and the people in hell. If there's that symmetry, then nobody in hell is going to make that change. And if that's true, it doesn't seem logical that they're all in that same condition.
So I think that the reason why they're not going to make that change is a function of the kinds of character that they happen to have. Now, there is the need to explain why it is that sort of your fundamental orientation towards or against God sort of is set at death. Right. And I think that's a really good question that I at this point don't have a worked out answer to.
Right, but would you admit the possibility that some people in hell could make progress out of hell? Possibility,
certainly conceptual possibility, or an epistemic. For all I know, that's the case. Right. Again, at least in the Christian tradition, the dominant view through most church history has been that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I'm not
but I don't want to rule it off.
I'm interested in what you think as a philosopher and as a believer. I want what you think about that, because it's a big question, and it reflects on the character and nature of the God who you say created everything.
I'm fundamentally committed to this, that if ever a creature tried to turn towards God, whether in this life or in the afterlife, God in his goodness and love towards us would accept that.